What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yeah, day 24 is here, and we are going to do a brand new film. Production from 2015, just recently came out on home video from MVD Visual here in 2016, and it is a film called A House Is Not a Home. Now, you can't help but notice, or at least I couldn't anyways, when I first saw the cover art to this, I immediately thought House on Haunted Hill remake. I mean, that just screams ripoff right there, doesn't it? But what you get is actually not a ripoff of House on Haunted Hill at all, really, in this film. This is quite an interesting one here. This one's got, Bill Cobbs is in this film. Eddie Steeples from My Name is Earl, which is pretty cool. He plays like a voodoo priest in this film. Richard Grieco makes an appearance in this film. He's actually he's also a co-producer on this film too, so I'm assuming maybe he was producing this film and he decided to do a little bit of a cameo in the film. I don't know. But this one right here is directed by Christopher Douglas Olin Ray, who is the son of Fred Olin Ray. And if you're familiar with Christopher Olin Ray's work, he's mostly known for directing like ridiculous shark films for like the Sci-Fi Network, like Two-Headed Shark, Two-Headed Shark Attack, Three-Headed Shark Attack, a couple of those Mega Shark Verse films, Mega Shark Verse, Crocosaurus, Mega Shark Verse, Colossus. I think he did Shark Week. Like, he did a whole shitload of those ridiculous shitty shark films that I enjoy because they're stupid and fun. But I was a little worried going into this film because what I've seen from this director is really, that's a totally different type of film. When you're doing like a ghostly film, I kind of want it to be a little bit serious and not cheeseball and shitty. But I was actually quite surprised by this film. But getting into the premise of this one, basically follows your family here, Ben and Linda. They are having some marital problems. Linda's like a alcoholic. Ben is, kind of ended up cheating on her because of this and stuff. So what they've done is they've decided to buy this brand new house to kind of mend their marriage, bring their whole family back together. They've got 2 kids and stuff. So they buy this brand new house off of Bill Cobbs' character. And so they move into this house. So right after they move into the house, they start, each of the family members start kind of witnessing these weird supernatural things. Like, they're seeing things and things are moving in the house and just all different sorts of paranormal activities and things like that. So it takes a little bit for them to all kind of come together and admit that there is actually a problem with this house, because let's face it, Ben doesn't want to admit it, the father doesn't want to admit it, because this is like a dream house and stuff. So one night the 2 kids are watching TV and they come across this voodoo priest played by Eddie Steeples. He's on this talk show or whatever, so they call him up to come and investigate and stuff, and then yeah, it's your film right there. So my thoughts on this one. Now, when I was first watching this film, I was very amazed at a couple different things. The simple fact that this one has an all-black cast, and it's a very serious tone film. There's like no comedy in the film. All these characters are very strong. They're not trying to poke fun at, African Americans and things like that. It's just like, it's like his normal family with normal problems and things like that. It's just something you don't see every day in a horror film. I was very happy to see a very, serious toned film. They were trying to play this straightforward, and it was very nice to see. So that was the first plus to the film. It was a very, nice approach, and just something I was not expecting at all. Second of all, the acting in the film wasn't that bad. It was kind of what I expected though, man, because a lot of these actors that appeared in the film are TV actors, so the acting is kind of on that level. I think that Eddie Steeples does a great job as a voodoo priest. I wish he was in the film a little bit more, but I think he did a really great job and stuff. But for the most part, everyone did a pretty decent job selling, the serious characters in this film and stuff, so that was kind of a plus. But, when it comes down to these type of films, these ghostly films, it's about the effects, it's about the approach, it's how they really kind of let the viewer have what they're trying to display in this film. I like the premise of this film. It's basically just about a house that has like this ancient evil that kind of consumes the owners, which now is this family that just moved in. It's got some pretty interesting ideas. It has this table in the film that is kind of made out of skin, and when it gets blood on it, it kind of gains power and things like that. It's got some really interesting ideas and stuff, and I have to admit the effects in the film weren't actually as bad as I was anticipating, considering, you know, Christopher Nolan Ray, you know, he's done a lot of CG work and stuff like that. Now, there is some CG in the film mixed with practical effects and stuff, but it comes across actually not the worst in the world at all. Richard Grieco, he's basically a character in the beginning that kind of gets killed off and stuff, and he's the one that's kind of appearing in the film and things like that. His character doesn't really have any lines. You know, it's, you know, his character's dead pretty much like his career, I guess. I don't know. Richard Grieco is supposed to be some big thing, but he never really turned out to be. But yeah, you know, the film was actually quite surprising in tone, in execution, and everything. But, you know, with all that said, though, it's very, very heavily cliched. You know, it has these moments of scare tactics and things like that. And I will give Christopher Nolan Ray a lot of credit for not, like, trying to use, you know, jump scares and things like that. They try to do other types of scares and things. They work on certain levels. You know, some work better than others. But, you know, it is what it is. But I was actually kind of impressed with the execution in the film. It just comes off as a little bit cheesy. It's not like, maybe a little bit cheap. I think that's kind of what it is. But you know, the third act in the film, not overly too bad. There was some pretty decent moments and things like that. And I have to say, pretty good ending. Pretty good ending to the film. You know, I'm really trying not to give away scenes in a whole pile of things that are happening in the film and stuff like that. But, you know, I will say that the third act was actually a pretty decent third act with a solid ending. But you know, overall it was a decent film. It was a decent film. It kept my interest the whole time. I think it's mostly due to the fact that these characters were strong. They weren't goofing around. There wasn't a whole pile of silly kind of side plots and things like that. It was kind of played straightforward. And it just kind of went for it. And, you know, they really tried to make a serious tone film. And it worked. But, you know, it's just not overly the greatest thing. You know, I was very surprised that this film actually won quite a bit of awards at film festivals and things like that. But, you know, for myself, already not being like the hugest Ghostly fan, you know, it really has to take a really a high execution in these type of films to kind of drag me in for the full, you know, kind of 90 minutes of the film. You know, I was there with this one. It just kind of fell a little bit short for me, but it was a pretty decent film. I'm going to give this one about a 5.5 out of 10. You know, these type of films are hard to review for the most part because you can't really say too much about them, but there is some pretty cool elements to it, and I don't know, but just not overly that great, if that makes any sense. So, House is Not a Home. You know, I honestly wish that Bill Cobb was in the film a little bit more, because he's probably one of the coolest characters in the film, because, you know, just the way his execution when he says his lines and stuff, it's awesome. It's kind of cool, man. You know, his character is pretty much kind of like the Crypt Keeper, and that's all I'll say. But House is Not a Home, man. If you're into these type of ghostly films, it's not the worst thing ever made. It's not the greatest thing ever made. It does have some pluses, a lot of cliches, feels a little bit cheap at times. Music's okay in the film. The cinematography is actually not that bad at times, but it also does really kind of display a lot of TV qualities too. I found a lot of close-ups and things like that. Just things that I wish were shot differently and stuff. So, you know, you kind of get a lot of that in the film, and too, I think that's what kind of separates itself from being, you know, like a 7 or an 8 to, you know, a 5 or a 6. And I think a lot of the transitions and a lot of the editing could have been, you know, a little bit better in this film too. I think it kind of hurt, you know, the overall effect that it's trying to give. So, but A House is Not a Home, decent watch, not really the greatest, don't highly recommend it, 5.5 out of 10. That is going to do it here for day 24, guys. Sorry, I am just completely still sick and out of it, so I hope that review didn't just sound like a bunch of rambling words. But anyways, I'm trying my best here. Hopefully I'll be better tomorrow. But anyways, guys, I'll check you then. Peace!